Welcome to Smash Metafiction! This week, we unearth the pieces of our favorite old stories and stitch them together into a brand new abomination that we like to call Collaboratory. Joining me this week are Tim Mulkerin.
So, last episode didn't have any fucking cats on it. I'm here to fix that.
Yeah, I know. Miles Schneiderman.
So I'm sure people are hoping that this episode won't have any time loops in it. I'm here to fix that.
Oh no. No more time loops. Veto on time loops.
I'm just kidding, probably.
And very special guest, I'm very excited, it's my baby brother, Tim Mulkerin. Welcome back to Smash Fiction.
Hello, thank you. No one told me I had to prepare anything clever to say, so I'm just here. Hi.
I just knew that your natural cleverness would carry you through. So.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
So Tim has been on for, you are in the Maleficent versus Wicked Witch match. You
was
also
episode 12.
Yeah, you were in the Avatar versus Captain Planet, and then you were in the first April Fool's match. And I think that was it. Am I missing anything?
No, yeah, because I think it was just when I was still living in Tucson and we were living together. But yeah, it's been a long time. I'm very happy to be back.
Yeah, and you've been so busy with everything, it's been really hard to get you back on. So we're very happy to have you back on the show, Timmy.
Thank you.
So if you've never listened to an episode of Collaboratory before, the way it works is that each one of us has brought in a character that we like from some other story, and one of us has also brought in a setting, one of us has brought in a goal, one of us has brought in a MacGuffin, and one of us has brought in a genre. We are going to then take all of these disparate pieces, boil them down into basic archetypes, and then try to build a new story out of these weird, old, leftover story bits. So yeah.
Did you just say Broughton like 4 times in a row?
Did I say Broughton?
I'm loving it.
Oh, I just assumed that was a word that you knew what that was, and I didn't.
Oh, it's already been Broughton.
I just thought that was like something that I was too unsophisticated to know about.
Well, Claire's just trendsetting over here.
That's what I thought, yeah.
You're witness to it now.
I was hoping it was some bit that was just going over my head. I was just trying to play along.
All right, so let's get started with some characters. Who would like to go first this week?
Well, I guess I should. I said I was going to bring a sweet little kitty cat back into this, so I'm bringing a weird one. My character is the Cat in the Hat.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Like from the book, because I didn't see the movie with Jim Carrey. I'm sure it's great, but I want the book.
Tell us about the Cat in the Hat. And Kit, I'm sorry that this is my penance for not putting a cat in the last episode.
Wait. Let the record show. I'm pretty sure it's Mike Myers, not Jim Carrey.
Oh, okay. See, I really didn't see the movie.
You're right.
Mike Myers?
Is there a difference between the two?
I'm saving you guys from angry emails.
Thank you. So the Cat in the Hat, he's this strange anthropomorphic cat that busts into these bored children's house one day. He's kind of an agent of chaos. He just does a bunch of crazy shit that entertains the kids. Eventually, it gets a little too crazy, and the house is too much of a mess, and Mom is about to get home. And everyone's freaking out. The fish is like, I told you to not let that cat in here. I wasn't just being racist. And it seems like everything is going to end badly, but then the Cat in the Hat has this little magic machine that cleans up the mess, lickety-split, and he leaves, and the mom arrives home, and she's none the wiser. I don't know that there's like a actual plot, like a strong story or anything there. He's just an agent of chaos, I guess.
He's a trickster, right? Like, that's what he is.
So the part of him that you like is the trickster part. Is like the kind of benevolent, helpful part of it to you, or the supernatural part, or is it just more like the kind of tricky, roguish nature?
I don't think you can really say for a fact that he's benevolent.
It just kind of all worked out that time?
I think he's just neutral.
All right,
and it
sounds
just worked
good.
out. I don't know.
I mean, he shows remorse for his actions at the end of the book.
He does seem a little bummed, yeah.
Yeah, when the kids get mad at him and, like, call him on his shit, he's like, oh, I didn't know we weren't having fun. Let me put this all back together, you know? He wants everybody to have fun so badly that sometimes he takes it way too far. Is that accurate, kid?
Yeah, that's workable.
All right. I will go next. In an attempt to try to bring some order back, I suppose, because my character, I brought Limu Bai from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh, wow. All right. That's rad.
Limu Bai, he's great. He's a sort of kind, elegant, and very old-fashioned warrior. The thing that I really like about him that I'd want to bring in is that he's unable to pursue the things that he loves because of his, like, old-fashioned code that he holds himself to. In the actual movie, there's a woman that he is in love with, and she was betrothed to one of his friends, and then his friend dies, and he's in love with her, and there's nothing between them, but he spends his entire life just waiting because he thinks it's, like, dishonorable to pursue her. And he's just sad, and she's sad, and they're just, like, next to each other for all of their lives. So
they're all sad together.
Yeah. I think there's a version of this which could be sort of like a Captain America type or whatever. You know, I see this kind of like old-fashioned, really principled person who's not conservative in a sort of bad regressive way, but more just very hard on himself and has unreasonable expectations for himself. Timmy, do you want to go next?
Sure. So I didn't really think about this from like an interesting storytelling perspective per se. I just kind of was like a first choice, best choice sort of situation.
Sure.
So I'm going with Violet Parr from The Incredibles.
Oh, okay,
Nice.
that's interesting.
Okay.
I just find her very endearing, I suppose. I like that she's this kind of pathologically shy person who, you know, is discovering that she likes boys but doesn't want them to look at her at the same time, and, you know, kind of has to step into this mama bird role when crisis strikes, and is discovering this magic power within her at the same time as, like, you know, not knowing how to ask a boy out on a date. I've always really been drawn to like a teen superhero sort of vibe, and I think that she really embodies a lot of the things that I like about those stories.
All right. Miles, who did you bring for your character?
Seems to me we don't have any villains here yet. And as this is my final appearance on Collaboratory...
Don't do it, Miles. Don't do it. Don't you do it.
You know I couldn't let another one go by
Miles?
without bringing in a pro wrestler.
I'm warning you. Oh, that's good.
No.
I thought it was going to go so much worse.
What did you think I was doing?
Doom?
Oh, no.
I would have left.
No, I wouldn't have
Call
done
in
that.
Megan Bob. Fuck.
I honestly wouldn't have done that to you guys.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. The character I have brought is Io Shirai, currently wrestling for WWE NXT, formerly of Wonder Ring Stardom, an all-female Japanese wrestling promotion.
Ooh.
Cool. Tell us about her.
What I love about her, there's really two things. The first thing is that she's just the fucking best wrestler. In the context of her original promotion, which is Wonder Ring Stardom, she is the single greatest and most accomplished wrestler to ever come out of that promotion. She is the most badass, amazing fighter ever. And that's, you know, even though NXT is sort of introducing her to an American audience, that's sort of carried over. She also made one appearance in Lucha Underground as a sort of a ninja assassin.
Okay.
So I think the fact that she's a really great fighter is really important. But the most important thing is that she's an evil megalomaniac who usually starts off her stories with, like, friends. And it's like, oh, hey, look, we're all friends. And then inevitably one of them, like, kind of a really happy, bouncy, like, underdog type will, like, let her down in some way, at which point she beats the ever-living fuck out of them and is dedicated to making their lives miserable. When she's a villain, which I want her to be here, she is an absolutely unstoppable force of evil whose evilness is all wrapped up in punishing people who used to be your friends.
Okay.
Because they have the audacity to not be as good as she is.
It sounds to me from the way you're describing it that there's like a bit of a kind of glam magnificence about her evil. Is that the kind of vibe of it, or?
Glam, but in a very dark way. When she's evil, she has a very kind of all black aesthetic, but she's also like really beautiful. It's not like 80s glam, you know what I mean?
So Hela from Thor Ragnarok.
Yes! That's exactly the kind of aesthetic you should be going for.
Miles,
good.
do you know what the name Shirai translates into?
I believe it's Purple Thunder?
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
or like Violet Lightning Bolt.
Yeah,
It's fucking dope.
Yeah, she's amazing, and if anyone has any interest in pro wrestling, You should go check out Io Shirai because she is actually the best wrestler that exists.
We'll continue this in the next wrestling fan.
Man, it's going to be years till we get to that. Sorry.
Hey, no worries.
So now we are going to take a look at what side dishes everybody brought. Kit, what did you bring for your side dish?
We're kind of on the fence about what type of vibe the Cat in the Hat brings, so I wanted to bring a really obvious goal with a really strong vibe. Let's do Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
What's the goal in The Shining?
So
Don't die.
I took the point of view of the wife character. I figured out that her goal was to escape from someone you thought you could trust from an isolated place with your child.
Okay.
All right, well, this works out.
Okay.
Wow, this works
I can
very well
already
with
see
mine.
where this is going.
So next up is me. I have the genre, and I'm so excited. The genre that I brought is the dual timeline funeral/family reunion story.
What?
Wow.
It is a
right.
very specific
Okay.
subgenre, and yet there are numerous examples of it.
Yeah.
These include
That's true.
Watchmen, The Haunting of Hill House, Umbrella Academy, and The Big Chill.
We all get together when we're burying our friends.
Yes.
It's just sometimes you only see people at funerals. It's great. Yeah.
So basically, the idea of this genre is that there was a group of people who were once all together in a tightly knit group, either a family or a surrogate family, but in the present, they have all spread apart and they're living very different lives and they've grown into very different types of people. There is then something that brings them back together. Typically, it's a funeral for one of them, and they are now in each other's lives once again. In the case of Watchmen or Haunting of Hill House or Umbrella Academy, there's an element of them getting together to solve the mystery of the person who died. But in the case of The Big Chill, it's just like a kind of dramedy. And it's just like they're sad and reconnect with each other and have like character drama stuff and like catch up with one another. So it can be an actual family. It could be like a superhero team. It can be whatever. But there will sometimes be like flashbacks to the past, and then you cut back to the present, that kind of thing. Tim, what did you bring for your side dish this week?
I brought the setting from A Quiet Place.
Okay.
Ooh.
So
I still haven't seen that. What is it?
the basic conceit is that it takes place in like the near future. There are these scary monsters that have taken over the land and kind of driven everyone back into an old school agrarian society where everyone is kind of these individual family units providing for themselves on their land. And they can't make any noise because these monsters have hypersensitive hearing and will come hunt them down. It kind of creates these like little insular units of humanity, and everyone's trying to just kind of collaborate and survive.
Cool. So what part of that is interesting to you? What do you like about that?
I guess I was thinking about it from a more macro level of like giving us interesting puzzle pieces to play with, of like these very specific rules within this world that might create sort of an interesting jumping off point.
Is it specifically the no sound thing, or is it more of just this kind of semi-post-apocalyptic society where people are in these little groups?
Yeah, it's more the latter, I would say.
Oh,
Okay.
do the monsters. Do the monsters. I love that, Tim, you picked a character with a superpower, but her superpower does not help her against monsters that can hear really well.
It'd be pretty hard to do the sound thing
Yeah,
unless we're just
I wouldn't
doing
want,
the quiet
I wouldn't
place.
want to do that, because then that's just the quiet place.
Fair
For
enough.
sure,
we we got to come up with another thing, though.
That's
All right.
fine. We can do it.
Monsters that create time loops.
No time loops. Miles, what did you bring for your side dish?
For my side dish, I brought the MacGuffin, and this is going to be a fairly simple one that I think should be pretty malleable, because I just brought a soul.
Oh, from what?
I mean, there's just so
any
many
old soul.
stories that revolve around, like, it's someone's soul, you know? You gotta protect the soul. Like, fucking the briefcase from Pulp Fiction, right? Like, there's...
Sure.
I mean, I'm not saying that specifically.
Right. I guess What Dreams May Come is one.
I was thinking of Meg from Hercules.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've always enjoyed the idea of what's at stake being a person, but like not necessarily their physical form.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It also has to do with the fact that due to a recent Smash Fiction match, I've been reading a lot of Swamp Thing lately, or rereading a lot of Swamp Thing. And one of the best story arcs in Swamp Thing involves Swamp Thing having to go to hell to get Abigail's soul back.
Very cool. So the next step is that we are going to come up with a logline. If you are not familiar, a logline is sort of a one-sentence pitch that explains the high concept of your movie. A high concept movie is a movie you can basically explain in a sentence in like an elevator pitch, and it makes someone go, ooh, I want to see that movie. Frequently, there's a sort of role reversal, a strange juxtaposition, a fish out of water, something that makes for a good movie poster. So we're going to come up with a high concept movie that uses all of these pieces somehow, and then we have to say it in one sentence at the end of it. But for right now, we're just sort of exploring and trying stuff out. Is anything jumping out to anybody right now, or is there any part of it that seems especially difficult that you're not sure how we're going to solve?
I think in a lot of ways it's coming together pretty easily in my head, because I feel like, obviously we know why these characters have come together. Some occasion has gotten these characters together in a single place, right? So my initial thought is that Violet is Limubai's daughter.
Okay.
And the Cat in the Hat has arranged this meeting under the pretense of a funeral or some other event. But the real reason he's done this is because he has done it at the behest of Io Shirai, who for some reason needs to get her hands on Violet's soul. Because she's gone crazy.
I was thinking of it maybe in a different angle. What if Io is Limubai's crazy wife, a la The Shining? And
switcheroo.
And the Cat in the Hat, I was thinking could sort of represent the creepy hotel of The Shining. Because the Cat in the Hat's kind of a supernaturally chaotic thing.
The Cat in the Hat is the hotel?
Something like that. Could we use the Cat in the Hat in that way?
In order to make the family reunion thing work, I think that we want to make as many of these characters as possible family members.
That's what I was thinking.
So what I'm thinking is we make, Io Shirai secretly the evil one. Limubai is, super good and everything. And Violet is, he's trying to save her, protect his daughter, that kind of thing. And I see Cat in the Hat, if you guys have seen The Umbrella Academy, as being kind of like the Klaus figure, in that he's more just like a slacker burnout who's gonna steal the silverware from the house and stuff like that. You know what I mean? He is like a sort of impish trickster Loki figure, and nobody in the family trusts him, but he kind of ends up being benign and not the real threat in this. Even though people at the beginning, it seems like it's oh great, he's here. He's like the black sheep of the family. But he ends up not actually being the problem.
I think that depends on how benign we want to make him, because I was getting the feeling that Kit wanted the Cat in the Hat to be more evil.
That would be cool if we could do that. I don't know if that's what we're getting from this.
I feel like the Cat in the Hat occupies this role as the kind of chaotic MC where he's the host of the party and he's the life of the party, but he always kind of has these chaotic tricks up his sleeve. You want to go along with him and you want to buy into whatever he's doing, but he always kind of has this edge to whatever his scheme is that actually is a little bit dangerous and troublesome. So I like the idea that he's hosting this gathering for everyone.
I like that too.
And then, but then there's this kind of shady undercurrent to the party where someone wants someone's soul. I don't know.
Yeah, and that works for your idea too, Kid, because if he's the host of the party, if this is his house, then he can be a member of the family, but still the location can be tied into him and who he is.
So that works.
Yeah, and there can be strange little secret passageways and things like that.
Yeah.
So the only thing is,
can the the twins in The Shining, those two little girls, can that be thing one, thing two?
So the only thing I'm a little bit worried about is I want us to have a large enough ensemble cast of sympathetic people. It's kind of weird to have Io Shirai be evil and the Cat in the Hat be sort of chaotic, neutral, leaning bad. You know what I mean?
We can have other members of the family.
Can they be an evil couple? Maybe Io has his soul and he's her prisoner and is carrying out these schemes on her behalf.
Maybe the Cat in the Hat and Limubai are brothers, and Io used to be with Limubai and now she's with the Cat in the Hat.
So if we end up using him in this way, I think we need more family members.
We can come up with those as we go through. I don't think they need to be super fleshed out because most of them are probably going to die.
Yes.
I mean, my character does have an entire family on which a movie is based.
You are correct. So
I just like the idea of it looking like he's the bad guy, but then it's really, really he's a pawn.
I want to try to put the character stuff on hold for just a sec and like talk about the setting a little bit, because this is going to be a very weird setting. And let's just like talk about a few possibilities.
Sure.
We need to figure out what this family is. Is it a literal family or is it a metaphorical family? And what the setting is. Because if it's the setting of A Quiet Place, then that means there's some sort of like post-apocalyptic element to it. It's somewhat of a fallen world. And if it's a dual timeline thing, then it makes sense to me that the present timeline is this fallen world. But then in the flashbacks, when the family was all together, it was probably in the pre-fallen, like, normal Earth. I think that makes sense for this setting.
I like them as actual family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me too.
Are they like normal people? Is this like a superhero setting?
If it's post-apocalypse, wouldn't it be a little easier if most of them were normal? At least most of them?
I think that's the more obvious way of going about it. I do think you could do a story where there were some superheroes that failed to save the world. Like,
okay.
That could be another way of doing it. But we could also just have this be like a family living in the post-apocalypse who've drifted apart. I think it's just going to be very different tonally.
I don't think this needs to be a superpowered setting.
If this isn't normal Earth, if it's a high concept thing, it should be dealing in fictional tropes that already exist. And I don't know what trope space we're in right now if it's not superheroes.
I mean, it sounds like horror to me.
Yeah, I was going to say the same.
That's where my mind was going because we have The Shining and The Quiet Place.
Yeah, okay. So I think that what that's going to mean is something happened, the family was all together, post-apocalypse happened, they've all grown up and spread apart. Now we're in kind of a post-post-apocalypse where like things are rebuilding a bit and there's like little isolated towns and things that are maybe doing okay. I think it has to be at least a somewhat recovered world.
I guess right now I'm just wondering, Claire, how we're going to make the setting feel like it's important at all. If there isn't that like kind of ever-present threat. Like maybe the Quiet Place thing can work with the Shining goal somehow. Because like we have the goal of like they're isolated, right? But like how do you deal with isolation and people coming together for a funeral? Or like, are they isolated because after the funeral, people can't escape because the monsters have come out of hiding?
Yeah, so basically you could do it sort of like Pitch Black where there's monster season and they end up traveling to the house for the family reunion and then monster season hits and they have to like stay in the house all winter until spring comes and the monsters like migrate again. You know what I mean?
And this is when EO thinks it is best to strike.
Right. How do we feel about that? If there's like seasonal monsters that serve the purpose of like the snow in The Shining, that have like ruined society to a degree.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah?
Like that makes sense too, because it would prevent a society from fully rebuilding.
Yeah.
Kind of a Pacific Rim type deal.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that kind of thing. Cool. So let's talk about this soul thing now. What is that?
EO wants somebody's soul for something.
So we had someone die and the family gets back together. One option that we could do, and I don't know if you like this, Kit, is the person who died could be the Cat in the Hat and the thing in the house could be his ghost.
Sure.
What if the Cat in the Hat is EO's late husband? This whole family is gathering for his funeral, but EO, unbeknownst to everyone else, is trying to find a body that can occupy the Cat in the Hat's soul. She wants she wants to import his soul into someone else's body.
All of the mummy.
Yeah. So she wants to, she wants to be with her hubby for a little bit longer.
Right.
So she's trying to, she's assembled all these people and is hoping that one of them will be a suitable host.
For the sake of getting a body, I think that what I would probably want to do it more of is kill somebody and trade their soul to get him back. But I'd probably want him to come back in his body so that she doesn't want to marry Violet Parr with the Cat in the Hat in Violet Parr's body, because it's like an underage person and it's kind of weird.
We should definitely still do his like two weird sons though.
Oh, yes, yes.
So the only thing that I'm going to request at this point, because one of the rules in the book, Save the Cat, one of the basic screenwriting rules, they say no double mumbo jumbo. That means that whatever your weird magical thing is, it should all come from the same source or like be related. So I think that if we're doing a thing with souls, I think that maybe the post-apocalypse should be caused by undead.
I was thinking about that too, actually.
Because then it all kind of feels like the same story.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the idea that somehow what's happening inside the house is also tied into what's happening to the world.
Yeah.
I think that's
Every
good.
winter, the zombies flock north.
Yeah, seasonal zombies. What's the hell?
I mean, seasonal zombies is a very, like, fucking Game of Thrones does that.
They do.
That's true. Yeah, body temperature and all that.
Okay, this might be the earliest I've come up with a title for a movie, but my current pitch is Zombie Season.
I mean, I like it. Let's wait
We'll
on
save
it.
it for later, but I just saying.
We could just call it The Season, because every
Tis the season. Is this a Christmas movie?
No.
Is the season.
Well, I just said The Season, but sure, we can do that.
The one thing I might want to tweak about this is that I think I would like EO's motives to be more sinister. If in the movie, the thing the audience first believes is that EO is trying to rescue the soul, but in fact it turns out that she's trying to capture and or destroy the soul for some reason, then the Cat in the Hat as a ghost becomes an active part of the story.
What if the Cat in the Hat is in a body right now, but got everybody together so that he can get a new body, because his body's like falling apart and he can't stay in it?
So he holds a fake funeral. It's actually a setup to get one of his family members' bodies, because it has to be a body that you're sort of close to, out like family.
Yeah, okay, so what about this? The Cat in the Hat was a zombie, and EO did a ritual to put another soul in him to give him fuel so that he doesn't decompose. And he needs to get new souls every once in a while to juice him up,
So
to top him off.
Like the Runaways TV show. You gotta sacrifice somebody.
I think we're making things harder on ourselves by having one of these characters be dead.
Maybe she's bringing the Cat in the Hat back to life over and over again, and maybe he's not okay with that, and maybe he doesn't want to be brought back. He can be alive during the movie, but he's secretly undead and eats people's souls in order to stay alive. He's like a secret vampire of souls, basically. But he's present in the story as a character. It's a plot twist that he's like a soul vampire.
Noted soul vampire, the Cat in the Hat.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to take a shot at the logline right now. In a world with seasonal zombies, a family that gets together for a family reunion is stranded for the winter and then discovers that they have been trapped in this house on purpose because one of the members of the family has been secretly extending the life of another member of the family by killing people and feeding them their soul. Yes?
This world's version of the undead could, in theory, drain souls to stay not so undead.
Yes.
The Cat in the Hat is just an undead with very nice skin. Artificially.
Yes.
He moisturizes.
He moisturizes
with other
it.
people's souls.
Yeah. Maybe she's
So-
born with it. Maybe it's other people's souls.
Well, there's the line on the poster.
That's on the poster.
Yep.
Okay, so the last thing I'd like to work out is the reason that the family is getting together. At least the sort of stated purpose. We need a reason for them to be going after their family's souls. I want family souls to have that special juice. You know what I mean? Maybe they have been using souls of just random drifters and stuff like that. Because it's the post-apocalypse, there's no cops. You can kill a drifter and get away with it. But maybe they're not working anymore and he's decaying faster and she suspects if we get a soul of a family member, then that will extend his life indefinitely or make him much last a lot longer, that kind of thing. So they've ramped up to this next level. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I like that, yeah.
What do we want to say is the stated reason for this party? It can be a family reunion, and it would be interesting if, they tried to do this soul transfer once before, but they, mess up in some way, and the soul doesn't take. And so they do a funeral as a way to get all of the family together, but there was already going to be a funeral anyway, so they do it as an excuse to get everybody together so they can try again with a different family member, because they botched, the ritual the first time.
So is everyone just oh, hey, remember that last time when we tried to harvest, Eddie's soul? Wasn't that wild? Anyway.
No. The Cat in the Hat and EO are secret about the fact that the Cat in the Hat's a soul vampire and they killed the person and took his soul. They come up with a different reason why he died to get everybody together. They're oh, he died under tragic circumstances. How did he die? Mystery, mystery. And then the reveal cycle is, we killed him to get his soul and it didn't work, but now we're gonna get your soul. Like that kind of thing, So.
Okay. So who died for the funeral?
It'll be some person who's not one of these characters,
Okay.
The patriarch of the family. I don't know.
All right, so with that, I think we can get started. So the next thing we're going to do is the beat sheet. These are the 12 steps of any good screenplay. Every single screenplay has them. I challenge you to find an example of one that doesn't. It can't be done. So they are opening image, theme stated, catalyst, break into act 2, B story, fun and games, midpoint, bad guys close in, all is lost, break into act 3, finale, and closing image. So first up is the opening image. In this, we're going to get a snapshot of who our characters are and what they want from life. They should be in a relatively stable situation, but there should be something in their life that needs fixing, and they should generally need to learn a lesson too. So who's our protagonist that we're starting on for this?
Either Lima Bai or Violet.
Yeah.
Right.
If we're following The Shining, it would be Limu Bai.
It can be either one. We can do both. We could have it be that the bad guys are fine with either soul. So if they can catch one of them, then they're fine. But so they're protecting each other, So.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have the risk for both of them because in The Shining, Jack tries to kill both, right?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, cool. Violet's basic thing is that kind of lack of confidence, not standing up for herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if we're going to have this thing of standing up to these people in her family, not being afraid of them, at the beginning, she needs to be sort of dominated by people. I see Limu Bai as being more of a flat arc character. He's been this same person for a while. He's kind of set in his ways. We can have a change for him, but I see him as being kind of he's kind of a character at the end of his journey in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
He kind of reminds me of when an animal is sick and then it isolates itself from the rest of its tribe and is kind of hoppling off by itself to die.
Yeah. If we're going to have a thing for him, I think it would be about embracing life again and not being afraid to be bold. Because if he has an arc, I think it's oh no, this world is dead and so am I, and there's no joy left and that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
He's this former warrior who's already peaked. And
more living for his child, but not living for himself. I think there's an interesting story to be told about both of them, and I think we can make it kind of ensemble-y. So we should probably do an opening image for both of them. You know?
How about we make the opening scene the both of them traveling to Cat in the Hat's abode or mystery hotel?
You know, it would be interesting if we see him as being this old, wizened veteran, but we're putting that in post-apocalypse. He's probably has a ton of survival knowledge, maybe a little bit like the guy Columbus in Zombieland, but he grew up to become an actual old badass. He has a bunch of rules that he tells her, he tells her a new rule every day or something about how to survive, that kind of thing. So you want that kind of warrior code, but it's survivalist code instead.
Sure, and she's just being a total teenager about it.
I have two kind of dueling images in my head at the moment. One is, the opening of The Shining is what? They're driving up the kind of spirally road to the house at the top of the mountain, right? So I'm thinking it's you're seeing winter kind of closing in, and as they're driving or, whatever, on a horse or something like that, to whatever vehicle they have, then on the rolling snowy hills, you see these zombies just kind of hobbling along and migrating. But the other thing, I keep coming back to the Wolverine movie that came out recently of this
Logan?
father. Yeah, Logan, thank you. I keep imagining that dynamic of Limu Bai and Violet.
I'm actually down with them doing this trip on foot, kind of like Last of Us style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's an apocalypse. Good. Yeah, that makes it hard and scary, but they can hide easily, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So Limu Bai's problem is that he has given up on life and doesn't really enjoy things. And Violet's problem, in some ways being ruled by fear and being shy in this way, is much more of a modern problem than it is a post-apocalypse problem. So I'm trying to think about what the equivalent would be, because it's hard to have social anxiety in the post-apocalypse. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe she's resentful of her situation and is not taking survival things seriously because her mind is still on the old world, and she's still kind of stuck in this past, and now has this, kind of teen eye-rolly attitude towards whatever, Dad, I'll nail the windows shut. Okay.
Okay. So what if she's 15 or 16 and the post-apocalypse happened like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And they have like a really nice, Li Mubai was probably instrumental in settling like a pretty nice stronghold. That's like a section of town that has a few families in it. And it's really well defended and everything like that. And because of that, Violet can sometimes just kind of pretend that she's still a normal kid, living a normal life. She has like books and she has a couple friends and stuff. And she doesn't really take the survival stuff seriously. And she kind of is in denial about it a little bit.
Here's the thing. I think if Violet lived through the initial wave of the apocalypse, she would never be blasé about it. I feel like if you want her to be kind of a blasé teen, she needs to have never experienced it. And so it would have had to been a long time ago. Or we could just skip the kind of shy part of her personality and instead make her self-esteem issues come from the fact that she doesn't feel like she can live up to what her dad wants from her. Li Mubai is kind of like a hardened warrior type, right? And is trying to teach her survival shit. Maybe she feels like she's just not getting it. She's not good enough. Like teenagers deal with that shit hardcore.
I'd also like there to be a flaw in his parenting, though. So I think in that case, it would probably be that he hasn't pushed her out of the nest yet. And like maybe he tries to teach her and then she doesn't really learn. And he's like, oh, I'll do it for you. You know what I mean? But as he's getting older, she still isn't in a place where she can take care of herself, because he really wants to protect her.
Yeah, I like that. It also ties in thematically nicely with Violet's whole thing about, the parents protecting the kids from their own superpowers and not really like cluing them into how powerful they really are and, kind of trying to tamp down their inner strength in a way and protect them. So I think that ties in.
Oh, by the way, can we make the building that Io and the Cat in the Hat live in be an abandoned hotel?
I'm fine with that. Yeah. I mean, there's probably
Sure.
real estate's cheap. So I think, we said our opening image, he's traveling around with Violet. He's trying to teach her some survival stuff. She doesn't quite get it. And then he does it for her. What's the thing that she can't do?
What's an important survival thing that's going to come up later in the movie?
Exactly. Is it going to be like how to kill a zombie? Maybe there's like one who's around, or is it something else?
Maybe it's she like hesitates. They have to kill one, and she's like, "Go ahead, do it yourself," blah blah blah. And she's kind of hesitant because it looks, this one like reminds her of someone she knows or looks more human or whatever. And he's like, "They don't have souls, just kill it,"
Right.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't, and then he kills it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe she realizes that zombie's soul meter wasn't fully on empty yet.
That's right.
Cool. So now theme stated. This is the part where someone here is going to state either the lesson of our movie or someone is going to state the exact opposite of the lesson of our movie. Either way, it plants in the viewer's mind what the big issue is that we're dealing with in this movie. And then by the end, the statement that they said will either be proven correct or proven false. What do you guys think is the theme of this, and who do you want to say it or say the opposite of it?
It's kind of the idea of like, what is it? The like train track riddle of like, would you kill one person that to save three strangers?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
The
trolley problem. That could be
the trolley problem.
Yeah.
Thank you. Isn't it? Because that's kind of like what Io is doing, right? Like she's killing strangers in order to preserve the person that she loves.
Yeah, that's true. If we're talking about like the idea of exchanging souls for souls, Li Mubai could say something like, if it's going to be them or you have to make sure it's going to be you. Because if we're talking about like exchanging souls back and forth or like the zombies coming for her, sometimes you have to kill people so you don't die kind of thing.
Is that the moral we
Is
want?
Is that going to tie in later?
It could, like, if she's, like, too afraid to attack her family members, that kind of thing. But it is also a good idea to get a moral that we actually like for the real world, that is applicable to our lives. And, like, get the other guy before he gets you is maybe not the best one.
Yeah, no.
Maybe not so much.
Not for this timeline.
So what's a more positive way of, like, this don't be ruled by fear kind of thing that we can do for her?
Well, what if it's, like, the kind of thing about generational knowledge and the idea that just because, your parents tell you that things are the way that they are, that maybe that's not always true, and that it's okay for you to carve your own path and learn new things about the world and kind of add to the cultural knowledge in a way. Like Li Mubai believes that the world works a certain way and believes that the zombies mechanically behave in a certain way, and then maybe she's realizing that like the math of that isn't quite adding up and maybe people have been doing things incorrectly.
I'm open to that. Are you guys okay with like a movie where everything we thought we knew about zombies is wrong and maybe we can save them?
Maybe the zombies were the friends.
Right.
I lost that halfway through.
I mean, look, I'm a big Warm Bodies fan, so.
Okay, so if we do that, then I think she says, like, it looked human, it kind of smiled at me, and then he'd say, like, no, you have to understand, these things are dangerous and they will kill you, and these are the rules, and you have to follow the rules to stay alive. There is no other way. Like, basically, I figured it all out, now just copy me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we need to just, like, to state that in no uncertain terms.
And that does tie in very nicely with The Quiet Place, I'm just going to say, if you have not seen that movie.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, you are correct. Uh-huh. Next up, we have the catalyst. This is the thing that enters into the characters' lives that changes them from their normal day-to-day routine and sets them onto a new path. So we could actually say that the stuff that they've been doing up until now has been like before they got the note that the person died, and maybe they received the letter now.
That makes sense.
They were like near their home, but they were just out on a patrol or like scavenging, and then that happened. But now they get the news, right? Mm-hmm. How does news travel in this world, do you guys think?
Maybe just like individual messengers.
Okay.
You know, that's somebody's job in this world is to carry messages.
Cool. So they receive a letter. The letter says, who died? Who are we going to say died?
It has to be someone important enough that they would travel during a dangerous time.
Right.
Zombie season approacheth.
Yeah.
Can I throw this interesting coincidence out there? In Japanese mythology, cat demons, or like bakeneko, one of the powers that they have is manipulating the dead.
Okay.
So, I don't know if we want to make Mr. Cat in the Hat and his wife these people who have figured out how to do manipulative things with this undead problem. Maybe we can make the Cat in the Hat also Japanese. And like their like corner of the family has figured out like undead manipulation stuff.
Sure.
And
that
they're
has
like
some roots
and
in
their
in,
house
like,
symbol is a cat. And they were called the Bakeneko.
In that case, we're going to say that the person who died will be Io and Limubai's dad. And maybe he was living at the hotel with Io and the Cat in the Hat, and then they kill him as he's getting old, but he was already getting old anyway, so, like, it's not that weird that he died. Okay?
Yeah, I like that.
Sure, yeah.
Cool. Mm-hmm. They get this letter. One other thing, at some point during the first act, are we going to have a save the cat moment? If so, what is it? Tim, if you're not aware, a save the cat moment is something from the book Save the Cat, which is the screenwriting book that we use as a reference during this. And basically, it's a moment where your character does something sort of like heroic or inspiring or endearing that makes you go, oh, I like this character for your main character. The example they give is to save the life of a cat, but it does not have to literally be saving the life of a cat.
Kit's on this episode, so I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah, cats are really scarce now that, you know, the undead roam the lands and I guess murder things willy-nilly.
Yeah, and their meat is so sweet.
Sure. So yeah, maybe cats are hard to come by. And she actually gets to see a kitty and maybe almost kills her first undead and attempting to protect this cat. But she, once again, does not do a good job, and her father has to save her and chastises her.
Right.
But at least she saved a cat.
So this is actually really cool. For our, like, very first thing, they can be traveling together, and he, like, goes to do something for a sec. He's like, stay here. And then she sees a cat go by and chases after the cat, and then ends up, like, falling into a room that has a bunch of zombies in it, and they start, like, chasing her, and she gets, like, backed into a corner, and then Limu Bai shows up and, like, kills the zombies to save her.
And she's never seen a cat before. She didn't know what it was.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Now we're at the break into Act 2. This is where the main character makes some sort of irreversible choice, crosses a threshold, leaves their normal world, and enters the topsy-turvy world of Act 2, where most of the story is going to take place. So what does this look like in our story?
I mean, I think they arrive at the hotel and cross the literal threshold.
Yes, they do. And in doing so, we know that we are going to be stuck here for the winter.
Thematically, this could make sense too. You know, if this house's symbol is a cat, maybe suddenly then Violet, you know, feels like she can trust them or something because she's had this moment earlier.
Right.
I like that.
And she brought the cat with them, of course.
Sure, naturally.
Yeah. So now she's like, oh, they seem nice, and maybe Limu Bai is a little bit cautious and like is skeptical about going to his crazy sister's house. But she's like, no, how bad could they be? It's a cat.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, Io is like, well, if I can't have one of your souls, then the cat will do.
Okay, so what does the house look like? We said it's a hotel, right?
Clearly the place was once majestic and grandiose, but has fallen into disrepair.
It's really important, too, I think, that maybe it used to be this really glamorous hotel, but places that were formerly places of leisure are now, like, you know, farmland, and there are, like, small, like, chicken coops or things like that. Like it needs to be like a very functional space, but maybe you can kind of see like shadows of its former kind of leisurely glory, still lingering.
I would really like that scene where they walk into the house and it's all like kind of weird and creepy. Violet like looks up and sees like EO looking down at them from like the top of a stairway or something.
You know what would actually be cool is when they come in, if we then cut back in time, like to see the hotel like back in the past. We want this to be a dual timeline thing, and it would be cool if this hotel was also an important location back in the past. So could we say that maybe their like father owned it or worked there and they spent a lot of time there or something like that?
That works for me.
And like the kids used to live in this hotel and like played here and stuff like that. We get to see like a scene of all of the family together. And at this point, EO and her husband are like just dating. They're like teenagers or something like that, We get to see all the family all together for like Christmas dinner or something like that, all the families together for a family reunion back in this time. Li Mubai's all young. Maybe Li Mubai's wife is there and she's pregnant with Violet, but she's not born yet. But little do they know this is going to be the first winter where the zombies come or whatever, like that kind of thing.
This could also be where we get a sense of what the Cat in the Hat's personality was like before he died and when he was young and everything. And his sort of like lighthearted kind of jokester mentality is very much at odds with Li Mubai's, very straight-laced, honorable mindset.
Right. Maybe because EO's her sister, we can have it be the first time that he's meeting him, and he thinks he's just like a huge doofus and hates him because Li Mubai's all serious, and he doesn't like this new person entering into their family.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I like that.
Cool.
I like that.
So anything else from this like break into Act 2 moment? We have like this flashback. We have them getting the tour of the place. I actually think could be interesting if we're trying to set up that this is a really dangerous area in the winter. We can kind of mirror the Shining thing where as they're coming in, maybe most people are migrating out, but they're like, oh, we're going to stay here because this place is a fortress and there's going to be zombies outside, but we can lock it down and it'll be fine. They can't get in. You know what I mean? Like, but a lot of people, like most of the staff and most of the people in the agrarian society are like packing up and like there's a huge caravan going in one direction and then just Li Mubai and Violet going the opposite direction, So
no other family members at the funeral.
We can have a few if you want.
I just personally don't buy that if Li Mubai is like this survivalist, that he would be going against the grain like just to go to a funeral. I don't think he's
very important. It's a fortress. It'll be locked down. It'll be fine.
Yeah, remember, he's a survivalist, but he's also very conscious of like honor, and that is very much about like honoring your deceased loved ones, especially when it's a father.
All right.
He has not forgotten the face of his father.
That's right. I still do like the idea of like a pair of creepy twins, or like even just a pair of like delinquent twins, like in Eulogy.
Well, yeah.
We said thing 1 and thing 2, right?
Yeah. Okay, so EO and the Cat in the Hat have 2 creepy children.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, why not?
That sounds good. So now we're at the B story. This is going to be a tonally different, lower stakes counterpart to the A story. It is oftentimes, but not always, going to be about a friendship or a romantic relationship. The main conflict we have right now, the A story, as far as we know, is just kind of like a weird, like family drama. It's just kind of like awkward, like there's a little bit of a mystery of like what happened with the dad's death, but it's mostly like just weird family reunion trash, like getting hashed out. What's another story you think we could have in addition to this main story?
I mean, the thing that first came to my head was Violet trying to connect with these 2 creepy twins and like about their relationship, because this is the first time that they're meeting.
I thought about that too, yeah.
Maybe she's trying to teach them something and is trying to develop into this more motherly role.
I do like the idea that they are going to turn out to be just straight up murderous. Like their parents enlist them in killing drifters and stuff like that. So that would not work with this, I don't think. But we could also have them be like less creepy than they seem. I was thinking they were going to be more creepy than they seem.
I thought both would be fun. Like we could do they're more creepy than they seem, but the B plot could still involve her trying to get to know them and like just figuring out that they are not exactly regular kids.
And they're just simply not murdering her because they're on a tight leash.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We could mess around with whether or not they end up being redeemable, but right now I like we play the idea that they have a secret they're hiding from her, and they know what's going on, but they're not like letting her know. So
yeah, I mean they're creepy as fuck. We know they're creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
She's naive. She doesn't know. She's like, oh, kids.
Okay. What's the dynamic between Li Mubai and EO and the Cat in the Hat? The Cat in the Hat, as we have said, is her secretly dead husband, you know, so we want to probably set up some sort of fake problem that the audience could buy in that this is what the movie's about, but there's going to be this other layer we reveal later. So like, by the way, I realize now we're kind of getting into the next step, so I'm just going to introduce it before we continue, because this is that. It's fun and games. So fun and games, this is the part of the movie that delivers on the promise of the premise, as they said. Whatever like the log line is, this is where we're kind of exploring it and having fun with it. The premise for this, I think, is people trapped in a house together for the winter while there are zombies outside. We haven't yet hit the twist of this lady's trying to kill them. That's going to come in the next step. But for now, like, we're just going to have fun with this premise of awkward family reunion and Christmas nonsense, you know, while there are zombies outside. So, yeah.
It's kind of cabin fevery. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking the Cat in the Hat should continue to be eccentric and strange, and Lima Bai is really regretting coming here and being now stuck in this giant creepy hotel with this weird dude and his weird kids.
Right. You know, it'd be interesting if Li Mubai's kind of quietly about family, if this guy's more like openly about family and more like wanting to like play board games with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, and like decorate a Christmas tree with them or sing carols or something like that. And he's like, I do not do that, you know? So,
I'm imagining Cat in the Hat is like the doofy dad who's like playing pranks and is like really jazzed about the holidays. And Li Mubai still kind of sees him as this like outsider who's doing things differently, right?
Yeah.
Oh, can we establish the Cat in the Hat is a tall, lanky gentleman who always wears a suit, but he has a red bow tie and a very weird, tall, red and white striped hat.
Sure.
that totally.
And I actually think it's really funny if like we set up EO as being fairly like normal, maybe like a little bit kind of cold and gothy, but generally kind of relatively sane and human. And then he's this really like animated character who's played by like, you know, Mike Myers, Will Ferrell or whatever. And then their kids are just like super creepy Addams Family children. And you're like, what is going on with this family? What other scenes do you guys want to have in the fun and game section? What are like some zombie Christmas traditions? You know what I mean? Like,
oh, so this is going to be a Christmas movie? This is going to be
of course it's a Christmas movie.
Tis the season.
Tis the season.
For murder and
for
undead.
zombies.
Oh my god. I mean, I think it's going to be exactly what you said, which is like, you know, the Cat in the Hat's trying to get everybody to do like traditionally Christmas things. And, you know, Lima Bai is like clearly disapproving. EO is like goes along with it. The kids are just weird and do everything weird to the extent that it seems like even the Cat in the Hat almost is taken aback by them.
Right.
And Violet is like trying to ease up the obviously chilly atmosphere by like, you know, going along with the festivities, you know. She's trying to be the one who kind of brings everybody back together because there's clearly been, we haven't really talked about this, but there's clearly been some kind of rift in the past between EO and Lima Bai.
Yeah, and I kind of think that she's maybe like a little excited to be here at first. Like, it's kind of weird, but she's like tentatively into it and trying stuff.
There are moments where she's weirded out. There are moments when she's like, okay, yeah, that, sure. But she's very earnestly attempting to be part of the family.
Sure.
And to make everybody else feel like they're part of the family.
Sure. So the only other thing, do we want to at some part start talking about like, if there's going to be some sort of secret from the past about some maybe dark, weird stuff with their dad or like what the issue is, do we want to figure out what our reveal is going to be on that now? Did maybe something they did like cause the apocalypse or something? Or do we not want it to be like that? We talked about the idea that at the end of the movie, we're going to say, oh, maybe the zombies are good, you know, and can be saved. Mm-hmm. So I think that the idea of fundamentally changing the setting and this not just being a small scale thing is something that we've kind of committed to a certain extent.
Maybe Lima Bai, when the apocalypse first happened, treated it in a very practical sense and maybe left with his wife and daughter, whereas EO was like, fuck you, this is the family house, like we're not leaving. I'm trying to come up with a good reason for why she hates him.
I think that works a lot. He's like, this place is up north, you know, it's in a northern part of whatever country or whatever this is. And he went down south where the zombie season isn't as intense, you know?
Right.
And
she considers him weak for it.
Right. And she's like, you turned your back on our family. This building is important to us. This is our home. And you left our dad there. He was sick and he couldn't travel. So I stayed here and had to take care of him. You know what I mean? Because he couldn't have gone south.
Because I was poisoning him. But anyway.
Lima Bai just prefers a dry zombie.
So the only other thing is, are we going to get to a point where we like undo or find a way to cure zombieism in another way, because that's kind of the thing we're setting up with Violet, and I want to like figure out what that's going to be.
We were playing with the idea of the family somehow having caused the apocalypse. And we've already established that Io is the kind of person who will go to great lengths to preserve a family member. So maybe their dad was dying and she did something to attempt to save his life and it went horribly wrong.
Yeah, we could have this hotel be like, sort of like the hotel in Ghostbusters. It's like a weird magic antenna ley line nexus thing, you know? And there's something about the architecture that lets you do like large scale weird soul magic rituals, you know?
I like that because that plays into the shining of the hotel kind of being a special location.
Right, yeah. And then we could say that maybe Io did the first ritual, or maybe their dad did the first ritual in an attempt to like preserve their own life, and they ended up opening a rift to the underworld that's like centered on this hotel. And zombies come out seasonally from this area or to this area or whatever, but like for some reason, like this hotel's existence is like perpetuating it in some way, and there might be a way to like reverse it or get rid of the zombies or fix the zombies in this hotel.
By like
secretly.
burning down the hotel, maybe.
So, yeah, maybe something like that, or changing something in the hotel, solving some problem in the hotel.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right, so I just wanted to like get a sense of where we're going, because you know this is like
totally.
This is a weird mystery thing, but we should know what the answer is, like before we just like get to the end and hope it works out. Like
I'm starting to understand the Lost Writers Room.
Oh yes. With that, I think we're at the midpoint. The midpoint is a huge pivot point that changes everything. Generally, there is the initial lower stakes kind of fake conflict in the first half of the movie, and then the midpoint is like a twist comes and the real conflict arrives in full force. An example that I use that I think is really good for this is in Black Panther. The first half of the movie is all about Claw, but then they have the reveal that the actual main villain is Killmonger, and he shows up halfway through the movie, and he's also the thematically important one who actually can teach T'Challa something. So we've had our fake conflict now, so now we're at the midpoint and the real conflict arrives. So what is this real conflict going to be?
Well, I feel like if we're going still with the horror construction somewhat, I feel like maybe Limu Bai and Violet have to try to leave the house, and Io and Cat in the Hat don't let them.
They discover that one or both of Io or Cat in the Hat are bad at this point. Yeah. And maybe they know that both of them are right away, or maybe they only suspect one, and then they later learn it's both of them.
Or maybe Violet thinks it's the kids at first.
Right.
What if the cat that Violet brought, they find the cat dead?
Oh man,
don't kill the kitty.
It's in every goddamn horror movie, huh?
And that's how they they find the twins. They find the twins feasting on the cat.
Oh fuck!
That checks out this darkness in you, Tim.
I mean, it's like every horror movie.
I don't want to kill the cat. That's mean.
Oh come on, grow up. Grow up.
Oh, it's the kitty that she saved earlier, too. That's so sad.
Okay, if Io and the Cat in the Hat, because I have to say that stupid name every time. Thank you, Kid, for choosing that character.
You're welcome.
If they're planning on killing them, what is their plan for how and when they're going to do it?
There has to be some kind of basement ritual, right? If this house is on like a magic apex.
Sure.
I would say maybe Limu Bai is the preferable target because there's that hatred that Io has for him.
Yeah.
Claire, you asked earlier, how does it start in The Shining? Doesn't the, like, real scary pursuing shit start when the mom comes across Jack's writings of the deranged all work and no play?
Yeah, we could have it be that, like, Limu Bai or Violet stumble in and overhear them talking about the ritual, or they find the secret ritual room or something like that, you know?
Or they just, like, see the spell book or whatever. They come upon that, because maybe Violet, in her attempts to not be bored and so creeped out by these kids, goes wandering again. She sees that cat from earlier. She follows it again, and maybe comes across some writings that are a little disturbing and insinuating.
Finds very helpfully annotated diagrams showing souls transferring from zombies into cats.
I mean, that is a lot like, I mean, really all of this is kind of a lot like Don't You Forget About Me.
Is this a secret, like, sequel to Don't You Forget About Me?
Yeah, right. I was going to say the plan is for the kids to, like, distract Violet while the other two deal with Limu Bai. Maybe they actually try to do normally, but I would think maybe they, like, start like chasing after her or something and like try to drive her into a certain section of the house. And maybe she like there's some rotted floorboards or something, and she falls down into the basement. And so she discovers that some shit is going on just as like they're about to spring their attack on Li Mubai.
Right. What if they're like getting Li Mubai really drunk?
Yeah, okay.
And
yeah,
they're like hanging
good.
out with him, and they're having like drinks, but his are really strong, or they've like spiked it or something like that.
Go play, kids. The adults are going to have some fun time.
And we're cutting back and forth. And then it's slowly, as she discovers the stuff there, we're starting to realize, oh shit, they're going to kill him. And he's like totally like, wasted off his ass. And they're just like kind of faking being drunk. And then Violet has to like run back to try to stop them before they can kill Li Mubai.
Yeah, because she discovers the thing in the basement.
Right. And then like maybe the twins are chasing after her with like knives and stuff or whatever as she's... Cleavers, my mistake. Cleavers.
I mean, one cleaver and one like pair of scissors.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That works. So yeah, we cool with this?
Yeah. Works for me.
All right, so now we're at Bad Guys Close In. This is the part of the movie where our heroes are trying to struggle with the new conflict that has come in the midpoint. They haven't figured it out yet, and they're usually not doing very well, generally because they haven't actually learned their lesson yet. So that this is kind of like a string of like failures, near misses, that kind of thing. The bad guys keep getting more and more powerful, and they keep getting kind of weaker and weaker.
So I think at this point they have to not realize maybe the power that the house holds over the region. So maybe the house keeps getting turned against them in certain ways. And
oh, interesting. So is the house like, now does it have like full on other haunted, weird, like magic shit? Like are rooms like rearranging themselves? Are hands reaching out of the walls? Like how crazy are we going with this stuff?
I mean, I feel like there has to be some element of that, because I do like the idea, and I think that ties into Cat in the Hat's character of like being kind of a trickster. Like I feel like the house has to have a certain amount of sentience to it, but not like literal sentience, but it has to kind of feel like a character in and of itself.
Oh,
right?
you know what'd be cool? Since he's an undead, but he's intelligent, what if he can command zombies? Do we like that or no?
I mean, Bak and Echo, he's the cat in the hat. He's the cat that can control the undead.
What if the kids are also undead?
That could work.
Oh, that'd be great. That's a great reveal. That's why they're so goddamn weird.
But it'd be really cool if like they're all running around and then the cat in the hat like snaps his fingers, and then suddenly like all of the vast wandering armies of undead snap to attention outside. And then they go over and open the front doors.
Oh, I like that actually. That's really good. So Violet like runs in and saves her dad, right?
Yeah.
As they're about to kill him, and she tries to like drag him out of the room, and that's when they open the doors.
But they go off and hide in some corner. It's a really big hotel, and there's like weird secret passages, and Li Mubai knows the secret passages as well. So like, and they're like holed up in some room somewhere, waiting for Li Mubai to sober up, basically.
Yeah, this is good too, because what has to happen here is that Violet has to be the survivalist.
Right, yeah.
And so this part of the story is about them not winning because she's not learning her lesson or learning the wrong lesson, perhaps.
Right, yeah.
So the wrong thing to do in this case is for her to actually embrace her father's philosophy, right? And attempt to do the survivalist thing against the family while he's sobering up. Does that make sense?
Yes. That's what she's going to be doing right now, and then it's not going to work. She's killing zombies, but there's still more zombies. But maybe the zombies aren't, like, biting her because the Cat in the Hat wants them to take them alive, right? So they can do the soul transfer thing. So maybe she or Li Mubai end up getting captured? Or do we want to do that for our all is lost moment? That's the next step?
Yeah, maybe she just tires herself out after a while, right?
All right, so we're going to have our break into Act 3, and maybe now's the time where we learn the mystery about what was actually going on with the zombies.
I think there should be an EO monologue at some point, right?
Right, where she tells about the history of the hotel. Maybe like this is during the all is lost moment while Violet's like in captivity, that kind of thing.
And this is when we get a flashback to maybe when her dad first does the thing.
Right, yeah. So did their dad like build the hotel? Is he some sort of like weird architect who built some hotel up in the mountains away from everything else, much like The Shining? You know what I mean?
Maybe the first ritual was performed because he wanted to bring his wife back.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So there's like a secret second ghost in the hotel that's like the wife or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Ooh. Like Henrietta under the floorboards in Evil Dead.
Yes, I understand that. All right, so what's our Act 3 then? Does Li Mubai now try to rescue Violet?
Sure, maybe they get her, but not him. Because, like, despite all her attempts at being all survivalist and shit, like, she's the one who's captured.
Alternatively, we could flip it and be like, they're going through the hotel together and she's doing all the stuff because he's like drunk and can't do it or / drugged, you know. And in the end, she ends up escaping, but he gets captured. And then he gets the monologue to him. And then she comes back to save him with her new, like, once she has her, like, self-revelation.
I prefer her being the one taken, and here's why. And tell me if this makes sense or not. First of all, if she's the one getting monologued at, then she's the one who gets all the information.
Yeah.
I also think that we're setting her up as the one to kind of save the family, essentially.
Right.
And I also think that it makes more sense for her failure in being a survivalist to affect herself and not Li Mubai.
Okay.
That's my pitch.
I'm fine with that. I think the way that we're going to do it then is our break into Act 3 is going to set up a fake climax that's actually going to go very badly for Li Mubai because he has to fail, right? Because he has the wrong lesson. So I think that he's going to like suit up, gather up a bunch of zombie gear from like their old zombie killing room and like, and then like go out on some doomed to fail rampage through the hotel. And it's like, oh yeah, this is the cool action climax. But he's going to eventually like fail. And then Violet's going to see this happen. And then she's going to get the real idea.
Maybe his idea is to like just trap everybody in the house and burn it to the ground or some shit. But that doesn't work. And so she has to come up with another solution.
Yeah, you'll be great. Yeah, he lights the hotel on fire because we've established that zombies in this don't like heat. So like flush all the zombies out. And then he has to go rescue Violet from the hotel before she gets killed by the fire.
Yeah, okay. I like that. I like that a lot.
So that's his like poorly thought out plan. But our break into Act 3 moment is like him lights a match, hotel starts going up in fire. We cool with that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so now we're at the finale. So this is our big final showdown. How do you guys think this is going to go?
Well, we have to eventually have Violet come to a realization about what she has to do, right? Which is somehow reverse the zombie magic.
You know, maybe throughout the movie we could say she's been like seeing glimpses of like her mom's ghost or something.
Like her mom's zombie.
Not her mom, sorry, her grandma, I guess. Because it would, you know what I mean? That's like...
Yeah.
So I feel like if the lesson she needs to learn is about communication, right? It's about like trying to reach out and not just kill them. Empathy, all that stuff.
Right.
She needs to try talking to the zombies that are around her, and she manages to like convince them to not kill her and to turn against the people.
Li Mubai is burning the house down, right?
Yeah.
Io's like, God damn it, I'll deal with my stupid brother. You kill her and like do the ritual.
Yeah.
To the Cat in the Hat. But she like talks to him. Maybe they like bonded a little bit over something in the fun and game section, like when she was trying to be all like Christmassy with him.
Ooh, that's really good. I like that.
She like convinces him not to actually kill her because he's just being manipulated by Io.
That's really great because we have the idea that he's just kind of like a neutral, fun figure. He's not as evil as she is. And if we say he's the one who controls the horde of zombies, you know what I mean? She's just like a normal person who's alive. And then she says to him, like, we had all that fun as a family, right? And like families don't do this to each other. And he realizes like, oh, you know what? Yeah, this isn't right. I like that a lot.
Right.
So he's going to like turn the zombie horde on her. Does he kill her? Or do they all just like march out into the snow and like leave everybody alone?
Does Io have to die? I feel like she has to die.
It could go either way. I think it makes sense for her to die.
Could she die in a hedge maze to a bunch of zombies that she can no longer control for some reason?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, no, because she never controlled them.
Well, indirectly, but yeah.
I do like the idea of Io turning on the Cat in the Hat once he is no longer useful to her. Because that sounds like what she's all about, right?
She could pull out a gun and shoot the Cat in the Hat in the head, and now the zombies are just wild.
I thought her whole thing was preserving him.
It would be, but once she
necessary,
turns the zombie army on him, then he's like...
Yeah, now he's turned on her, and that's the one thing that she can't have.
She, like, pulls out a gun, shoots the Cat in the Hat in the head, the zombies go crazy and start attacking everyone, like maybe even her and Li Mubai, and she's just like, everybody's gonna die, fuck it!
So here's my thing. At the end of A Quiet Place... Spoiler alert for anyone who has not watched this movie. I apologize in advance. The main couple is Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, and they have a couple of kids, one of whom is deaf. So they eventually figure out that the frequencies emitted by the daughter's hearing aids are really loud and painful to the monsters. So they find a way to like turn that against them. And so in a way, she kind of like cultivates this like ability to combat the monsters in a way that nobody else has before. So, ipso facto, ergo.
Quid pro quo.
What I'm saying is I like the idea that this is where we bring in Violet's like superpower, that she suddenly discovers this ability within herself to be hyper empathetic in a way that like people haven't been before. And so she's able to kind of like reach.
She's the fucking bloodline. And maybe she comes into that like by recognizing the undead as humans as opposed to monsters, you know, like sort of almost expanding her idea of family to encompass all the undead. And in doing so, she basically is able to tap into a different kind of power than the one that was being used by Io and whoever else, because like it's all in the intent, right? When Io did it, she was trying to keep possession of people,
right?
You know, and when her dad did it, she was trying to keep possession of someone, like you said, Claire, not being able to let go,
right?
But when Violet recognizes everybody here as like fundamentally human and fundamentally family and doesn't like what's being done to them,
if this hotel's like a conduit to the other side, maybe as they're preparing to do this ritual, Violet feels this like connection to the, you know, the spirits on the other side. And maybe she like, after she gets away, she goes up to the roof and just kind of like does a kind of thing where she like, you know, connects to the greater consciousness of all of the undead and just kind of tells them all at once, like, it's okay, you can let go.
Can she not just like undo the zombie magic and restore their humanity? Like, are these really people who have died and then come back? I was just imagining like people who have been like corrupted and turned and like zombified, but like aren't necessarily like undead per se.
That probably works better.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, we could go with that. So they'd be more like corrupted people, but it could be undone and they're not like a corpse that would just like fall apart.
They're just like corrupted kind of chaos humans.
Okay. The only issue with that is the whole reason that they're stealing the souls is to preserve themselves. So I guess it would be just more of preserving their mind, but not preserving their body because their bodies are already kind of fine.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And I mean, I'm sure their bodies are fucked up to a certain degree because no one's doing their skincare regimens, no one's eating properly, etc. So I'm sure they don't look great, but...
Okay. But they're not so far gone that at least most of them can come back to being human when the curse is lifted.
Sure. It's got some twigs in the hair, some bumps and bruises. No big deal.
All right. And then you know what happens at the...
Don't worry about it.
And then do you know what happens at the end?
What happens?
All of the former zombies, who are now humans, live in the hotel together and they have a big Christmas party because it's Christmas and their family just got a whole lot bigger.
They're all friends.
Because did you think this was going to be a horror movie? At the end, it turns out it's a feel-good Christmas movie.
'Tis the season. That's when the title card comes up.
Like, if we save the humans and it's Christmas and they're now all in the hotel together, I'm sorry, come up with a different ending because that's, like, perfect.
Lesson learned, my friends. They step over the Cat in the Hat's bloody corpse.
Oh, yeah, he did get shot in the head.
He got shot in the head. Yeah.
What happened to Io?
She gets eaten by zombies in the chaos once she kills him.
Sure.
Yeah, she runs into the hedge mage. The hedge mage. The hedge mage.
Oh, yeah, that's great. She just runs out into the snow and freezes to death.
Yeah, great.
That's awesome. And then the zombies don't have to kill her, but she still gets to die.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I kind of love that. I think we solved it, my friends.
And as she's freezing to death, the song "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year" is playing over the credits.
And everyone plays soccer with Cat in the Hat's dismembered head.
Sure.
Tim, what happened? You got dark. You're like murdering cats. You're playing fucking games.
It's a dark comedy. What do you want?
New York does things to people, man.
I've seen things.
Do we have anything else from our closing image? I imagine it's like a nice, happy Christmas party. Now, does Limu Bai live?
It would be way too sad for Violet if he died.
And like, if his whole thing is he needs to stop thinking about the fact that he's going to die and the fact that he has to try living, that's his whole thing, right? Then it makes sense for him to have to live at the end and have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
So like, he has to learn to be human, and there's all these zombies that are now people living in the house with him, and he has to like be nice with them and like deal with them like leaving their dirty dishes in the sink, which like he can kill zombies, but he can't deal with that shit. And like that they want to give him hugs and stuff all the time. Like, he's not here for that.
I'm glad we've just completely abandoned the concept of tone for this movie.
It's a Christmas movie, Miles. What do you want?
These are all the post-credit scenes.
This is, yeah.
Violet is like, Dad, be nice.
I think we have had two competing tones throughout this movie. And
that one once tried to rip my throat out. I don't care.
Yeah.
Be nice.
We've had two competing tones from this movie, and we thought the other one was going to win, but the first one won instead.
The twist was inside us all along.
Yeah. In that case, the only thing we need for this is the title. What are people thinking for the title?
The Season.
The Season?
Yeah.
You don't like 'Tis the Season or Zombie Season or something like that?
I gotta say, I like 'Tis the Season. I love a pun title. I love it.
I think The Season is all you need.
I feel like The Season hides the camp aspect of this film in a way that I don't like.
Okay, so you want the camp to be very visible from the get-go?
I mean, you gotta give people at least a clue, right?
I'm leaning 'Tis the Season. You cool with that, Miles?
Yep.
Last thing's very important. The cat lives. Right? Does the cat live?
The cat lives.
Yeah,
the cat lives.
The cat lives.
It's a happy Christmas movie, so the cat lives.
Despite my many attempts to kill the cat.
Close. Time for the kid thanks. Over to Twitter. Thank you to Patrick Lucio, Vander Turner, Cosplay Fiend, Cosplay Devotee, Florian, Cool Down Now, Sean Boyd, Jeff Rick Present, JTFJ2, The Jakening, Icon Jade, JD Ketch, The Unspoiled Podcast, Adam Mayo, M. Bond, Ant Bluff 96, and Earth Mofo. Over to Tumbles. Oh look, it's all rearranged now. Thank you to Fat Blunt 69.
Fat Blunt 69.
And Pulp to Pixel. And on Facebook, thank you to Jeff Polier, Jeffrey Ketchum, and David Waters.
Thank you so much, Tim, for coming on. It was a pleasure having you.
Of course,
and it's
thank
been
you,
too
guys.
long.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Timmy. We really appreciate it.
No, I had a really fun time. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Collaboratory. Next week, Mad Tim, Curry Road. Pennywise from It versus Hexus from Ferngully versus the Lord of Darkness from Legend versus Long John Silver from Muppet Treasure Island.
Smash Metafiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Schneiderman, with logo design by Claire Mulkerin.
Special thanks to Kevin McLeod of Incompetech.com for our theme song, The Builder.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going, and we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight.
His wife, right?
Guys, we're just doing Don't You Forget About Me Again. Do you realize this?
Wait, look, Miles,
What
our
is
studio
that?
makes only 2 types of movies. You have to accept this.
I'm trying to think if it's... I mean, it's sort of similar, but...
It totally is. It's a fucking female protagonist trying to fight the evil grandfather. And anyway.
She's fighting
it's
her
fine.
evil uncle.
Sure.
Mostly. /aunt.
It was only the grandfather that created the apocalypse.
It was their dad in Don't You Forget About Me. We made it Slender Dad instead of Slender Grandpa. We changed it.
Oh, yeah, you're right, we did.
It's
True.
completely different, Miles.
It's completely different.
This one has zombies in a hotel. That one had a school and the Phantom of the Opera /Quasimodo.
Anyway.
Can we do like a fucking M. Night Shyamalan thing where every time a cat appears in the story, some like undead shit's about to go down? Like it's that kind of subconscious warning to the audience?
Just so you know, the answer to your first question is always no.